This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. I am Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Life Transformation Radio is heard in over 90 countries. Thank you for joining us from all around the world. Whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to Life Transformation Radio for some time, I want to personally thank you. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. Also, personal invitation from me to you. Please join us on Facebook in the Life Transformation Radio community. On the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today does just that. Today, Angelique Capet and I discuss how even when you hit rock bottom, the only place to go is up. If you want to understand there is no rule book for life and learn how the challenges we encounter make us stronger and to never give up, this is the show for you. Sherry continues to captivate people with her inspirational story, and we're going to dive deep today. As a single mom and homeless, Sherry was feeling defeated but decided nothing would break her. Looking within, she found pure determination, persevered, and that is just the beginning. Sherry, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Hi, thank you, Rob. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. Great to have you here. And I love that you are, persevered through what you've been through. I know a little bit about your story, and we'll be diving deep into that today. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited. It's been a long journey, but every step of the way, as hard as it's been, I realize it's just that. It's part of my journey, and it makes me better and stronger in every way. Yes.
And, I'm sure you would like to be better and stronger without having to gone through what you've gone through.
That's a perk.
Yeah, seriously. Well, so let's do our deep dive. So you were raised by your grandparents, your grandma specifically?
My grandmother on my dad's side and my grandfather on my mom's side.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I went back and forth between, which was nice. I was the product of young parents. They were 16 when they had me. So that was tough for them because they weren't prepared. And they wanted to still have their youth. And so, I still saw them. They were still there, but I was mostly raised by my grandparents, my grandmother on my dad's side and my grandfather on my mom's side.
They were 16 years old. I got it. Yeah.
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 Yep.
So from there, you're 18, 19, you go to college, you graduate high school. What happens?
I graduated high school. I went on to college. And when I was in college, I started working at ESPN. I decided I wanted to try something different. I wanted to get experience. And I found out who the hiring manager was. And I sent him my resume every single day until he called me up and said, "Who are you?" And I said, "My name is Sherry and I'm going to work for you." And he said, "I don't think so." I said, "Just talk to me. You're going to work for me. I'm going to work for you." And so he brought me in for an interview, did the whole process and said, "I'm not going to hire you." And I said, "Why? Why won't you hire me?" He said, "Well, you're going to school full time," which I was. I was in school going from about 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. And he said, "I don't want to interfere with your college." I said, "That's okay. I'll see you soon." He said, "You seem very confident." I said, "Because I know you're going to hire me." And 6 months later, he called and offered me the job. Wow. And I worked from 4 to midnight, 5 days a week. So I worked full time and I went to school full time.
2 full-time jobs. That's amazing. And how'd you do in school? Did you kill it?
I graduated with when it was a 4.0 GPA, I graduated with 3.75, and I did great. I transferred my credits in, so I graduated with a communications degree with marketing and advertising as a minor, and then I went on to work in Argentina for ESPN to help launch ESPN Sir and train the employees down there.
That's amazing. So life's going good. Things are good.
Yep. Things were going
good. And you never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
At any moment, your life can just change on a moment's notice. What happened?
Absolutely. I met my ex-husband now when we were working together, and we were dating. We got married, and I got pregnant. I wasn't supposed to be able to get pregnant, and I did. And I was very blessed, very lucky. I have an amazing son, but the reality of having a child hit, it wasn't as exciting as the illusion of having a child.
Right.
And realized it's
kind of very similar to what your parents experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so it became abusive. I tried to stay with it too long, but I tried to stay with it because I thought I was trying to keep my family together. And then it got to the point where when the police found me, they said I was lucky to be alive. And so he had sold all my things. He took all the money that I had. We had a joint account, took all the money, left me with $60,000 in debt, and said I could take my son's things, and I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn how to do everything again because that's just the condition I was in when I left. And I was also left homeless. So I was living in my car. My friend was taking my son to sleep with him at night so that my son at least had a roof over his head, but I couldn't go because I wasn't paying rent. Right. So I was sleeping in the car. So I had nothing left other than my son. I felt like I was lower than rock bottom. And I just took everything I knew and I said, I'm going to make this happen. And I had side hustles. I was building my business. I remember when I had my virtual assistant business, when I had my first client, I made $200 that month. And to me, I was so thankful that I could buy my son food because there were times I would go weeks without eating just so that my son could have what he needed. And wow. I just built it up from there, and I just never stopped. I was there for my son. I was there building my business. I was taking classes at night when he would go to sleep. When he was younger, when he would take his naps, I would be working. I would work my hours around him, and I just continued to work as hard as I could. And I took everything I knew, all of my knowledge, all of my experience, and I just continued to add to that. And I built it up into the business I have today. It's an internet's global business.
What happened from ESPN? Where was that transition? You're working at ESPN, and then all of a sudden you're not working at ESPN, and that's why everything just blew up at one fell swoop?
No, I left ESPN because it was very hard trying to work in a company where the department that I was in was 24 hours and raise a young child. And I didn't have any help. So I went to them and I started shopping around for other companies. And I said, look, I need some work-life balance. I have a child I'm raising, and I understand the company is 24/7. However, I need to make sure that I'm there for them just as much as I'm here for the company. Right. And so they said, I'm sorry, but you need, they said, I'm sorry, but we need you here. I said, fine, here's my letter of resignation. And then they said, no, we can work this out. I said, no, you already gave me your answer. My son is my priority. And I left.
Wow. Well, so I want to acknowledge you for boundaries. That's the thing about boundaries is a lot of times people, it's interesting because when you set a boundary, it plays out beautifully by the reaction of the person you've set the boundaries with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They prove to you if that's a boundary, because if they're not going to follow the boundary, they usually will just disappear. That's usually what happens. That's usually what happens. People have a hard time setting boundaries.
Boundaries are very hard to set and stick with. So many people waver over that when that opportunity comes and they're like, oh, well, you know what? They're gonna work with me on this, so maybe I can make it happen. You got to set those boundaries, and you have to have them set so for your own sanity, your own health, and that's a lot of times why I hear people say they don't have that work-life balance. It's because they're not creating their own boundaries and they're not following them when they set them.
Yeah, it's so important to create boundaries, and it really makes life a whole lot simpler. Like,
absolutely.
One of the boundaries in my life with people is don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. I don't like to be lied to at all. And the other boundary is I like people to be on time. I don't like people when they're late. Like I have my circle of friends and I make it very clear, please don't be late, because I just think it's rude. I don't do that. And I don't like to get yelled at. I had a client yell at me. I've had people yell at me, and I'm like, I'm not going to do work with you. Not going to happen.
I was always taught that being on time was 15 minutes early.
Yeah, me too.
That's why I'm always 15 minutes early to be on time. And it's also a sign of respect and being professional.
Absolutely. Well, for someone that has, ADHD and ADD, whatever way you want to call it, we're known for being late. And it's a lot of work for me to be on time. And if I can be on time, you can be on time. That's all I say.
Exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. So ESPN said yay, and you said nay.
Correct.
And then you dissolved your relationship, and I'm happy about that. And then you're homeless, and now you're doing your side hustle with your virtual assistant. And so take us through that. So how did you get unhomeless? Is that a word? Unhomeless? How did you become not homeless?
I think it is. I think it is now. We'll make it a word.
Unhomeless? That's a new word.
Yeah, okay. Why not? That's how words are created.
I dubbed the unhomeless. That's it. Okay, I promised laughter. In the intro, I promised laughter, so it's got to be.
You did.
All right. Good.
So after ESPN, I went on to 2 more corporate companies. But while I was in those companies, and I was bringing my son to work with me. I wasn't there very long. I was at the Sports Authority in their regional office for just under a year and a half, and the senior VP left. He had a family emergency, and he left, and the new guy who came in brought his entire team, and I knew that was coming.
Right.
And then I went on to Hartford.
Kind of cleaned house.
Cleaned house, yeah.
Usually.
And then
typical.
They usually do.
Always, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then I went on to the Hartford, again, not for a long time, and I was bringing my son with me. But while I was there, and even at the Sports Authority, I was transitioning over. I was working virtually. I was only going to the office maybe a couple days a week, but I had been doing most of it virtually, and I was testing it out to see how it would work.
What year was this?
This was in 2004.
So check that out. So working virtually, and now in 2021, people are like, wow, I can work virtually. That's pretty amazing.
People told me I was crazy for it. And I said,
17 years ago. Yeah, 17 years ago. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So I started doing that, and it was amazing that people thought it wasn't going to work. But then they wanted me in the office more. And I said, no, I can't do it. I didn't have a lot. Obviously, I was coming in. I didn't have a lot there. And so I ended up out. Everything I had was going to take care of my son, trying to get myself out of debt, the $60,000 debt that I was left with. I was going to people's
Makes me sick that he could get away with that. I don't like that.
There's a lot
Just
that
really
people get
upsets
away
me.
with.
I know, it's terrible.
And it's sad. I was going to places to take showers. I was trying to, get myself back together. And I said, that's it. You know what? I'm going to do this. I got to do this myself. I didn't have any help from anybody else. I'm going to do this myself. And that's when I just started building everything out. But I started working virtually and getting that experience and testing it out in 2004.
Wow. That's a long time. Okay, so we're 2004. So as we progress in your transformation, then what? Another shoe drops.
So I was doing some side hustles. I was doing a lot of crazy hours, just trying to make things work. I had a lot of health issues. I didn't know where anything was going. And then eventually I ended up getting ovarian and cervical cancer. I didn't know what was happening. I thought that I was just like, there was a lot of stress on my body. I wasn't feeling well. Tests weren't coming back right, but they didn't know what was going on. So I had a partial hysterectomy. And then from there, I still wasn't feeling well. They said it was the stress of my body. And this was years, like a year-long progression.
Oh, so did they diagnose the cancer? Did they diagnose the cancer? Or did they just do the hysterectomy? Okay, I want to make sure.
No, they did. That's why why they did it. Yeah, because they were trying to see if there was something else going on, but that's what it was. And then it started out in one area and it spread to the next, and so they decided to go in and do the partial hysterectomy. So they left the ovaries, and I still wasn't feeling well. And this took more years because they were, I was starting to find lumps in my breasts, and I had a lot of fatigue. And So they decided, to run a series of tests over so many years. You have to wait months in between to have biopsies and scans and things to come back and get approvals, because I had specialists that they didn't want too much at once. So then I ended up, after all of those tests and everything, I ended up having to go in and have a double mastectomy. And when they were in there, I'm allergic to contrast dye and gadolinium. So when they were in there, that's when they were able to see that I had 4 lesions and 6 cysts, and they also had to take out my right axillary lymph node.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely something to wake up to. I was very surprised. So, yeah.
That's one transformation. Like I said, anything can happen in our lives, and we tend to not live every day like we want to be alive. We tend to just take every day for granted, and at any moment, your health can change in a very fast pace. Yep.
Absolutely. And at this point, my son he was starting to do he was with the Boy Scouts, and he was with the Cub Scouts, and he was with the Boy Scouts, and they were doing trips. So for that period of time when I was having these surgeries, I had that, and I had reconstruction, then they had to go back in and do some scraping and cleaning. And so when they were doing these surgeries, I sent him away for the summer on high adventure trips. I didn't want him around.
Right.
And I didn't know that I wasn't going to be able to take care of him. So I said, go with the boys, go on these trips.
Right.
And so that's what he did for the summer. And we kept in contact. But the important thing to me was that he not see me like that, even though we were very open with each other about what was going on. I explained everything to him, but I also told him I wanted him to go and enjoy his summer. And when he came back, he could be there for me when things had calmed down.
Yeah. Wow. That must have been very difficult.
He was very upset with my decision, but I knew it was the best thing for him.
Yeah. It says a lot about your mothering, that he was upset. Like, I would rather stay with you, Mom, instead of going off and having fun. It says a lot about you.
Oh, thanks. He's a great kid. He'll tell people I'm his best friend. We have a great relationship.
That's very cool. So you went through your surgeries, and did you have chemo?
I didn't. I didn't want chemo, and I didn't want radiation, because I knew that those things could do more damage than the cancer itself, because so I did everything naturally, organically. I did diet changes. They told me not to get up and move, so I got up and moved. They told me don't exercise, so I got up and I went for walks. Even if it was 5 minutes, I got up and I went for a walk. They told me I did no pain medication. I don't like taking medication. So everything was mindset, breathing, focus. There were days I was laying on the floor in tears, screaming in pain. But I'm also a classically trained musician. So I use the classical music and the focus and the shifting of the mindset to get myself through it.
Wow. Well, okay, I'm looking at your profile, and I don't see classically trained musician here. Tell me about that.
I started playing when I was 6.
Tell me about that. What'd you play?
I played piano, acoustic guitar, flute, and piccolo.
Oh, just a few. And I think I can play the kazoo. That's that's amazing.
One that I can't do.
Oh, I'm good at the kazoo. And I can play the juice harp, too. I'm really good at that, too.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Really? That's very cool.
I am. Don't. Yeah, I can do that. So, yeah. So.
Nice.
Did you play instruments while you were healing? Is that something that you did for just comfort?
No. I listened to it. I have classical musicians that I love listening to. So I had the music playing, which really calmed me and helped me focus.
Did you meditate?
I did. I did meditation as well. Mm-hmm.
So powerful.
Yeah. It's amazing how powerful the mind is.
Yeah. I had a blood clot, and I was meditating a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just because your brain wanders. I was supposed to get out of bed, and because if I did, a piece could break off and I could have a massive stroke and die. And I didn't want to do that because I had a daughter. And I was getting divorced at the time, and I just wanted to live. That's all I wanted to do. So I was like, I got to and you go to very dark places. Did you go to dark places when you were, it's just like, God, this is a big fight. And you go to dark places and you work really hard to not go to dark places.
Yeah, there were times I was laying on the floor screaming, just in pain, and saying, why? Why is this happening? How much more can I take? I can't do this anymore. And I was so upset. And I would have my moments where I was like that, but then I would say, you know what? I'm not letting this take me. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep going through it. And I would get up slowly, but I got up, and I didn't let it stop me. There were definitely breakdown moments, and it's hard. It's so hard to go through.
It is. It's when you're facing a potential of death. I wouldn't want my worst enemy to experience it. It's scary.
No.
It's really scary when there's that uncertainty of like, well, you might die. I know eventually we're all going to die, but you may die like really soon. I got tears in my eyes. I don't wish on my worst enemy. I just don't. It's a terrible
is never
feeling.
Promised.
Not at all.
Yeah, tomorrow is never promised. We have to live in the moment and enjoy it. That's why when I hear people say, I'll get to it tomorrow or another time, I'm like, why are you waiting?
Oh, yeah.
Just go do it.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, as Mr. Action, I mean, I have balance in my life. I don't, I do a lot of things, and I always have balance. My birthday was this weekend, and I just...
Happy birthday! That's so great.
Thank you. I didn't work. Spent time with some dear friends and just did everything that I wanted to do. And it was great.
Good.
One of the things I was motivated to do was clean the garage. I just went in there it was 110 degrees yesterday, and I went in the garage. I'm like, not important, not important, not important, not important. Throw it away. Don't need it. Burn it down. Don't need it. Don't need it. Don't want it. And it's interesting. Done a lot of mental clearing on this birthday, and a lot of things differently. And it's really wonderful.
Yeah. Clearing out that clutter mentally or physically, it's so relieving.
Oh my God, I feel so good. Like we have these giant trash cans, from the city, and I filled up one. I filled that thing up, and I'm talking about old CDs and cassettes and books and just stuff that I just didn't want. I just wanted it gone. Didn't want it to go to anybody else. I just wanted it gone. It was just old stuff, some broken stuff, and just gone. And I'm like, it was so great because the trash man came today, and it's gone. Like, it's gone. And so
That's so
freeing
great
to do that.
It is.
All right, so
I'm so excited for you.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you had that experience, and then your son comes back. And how was that?
It was good. I was in a better state of mind because at the time when he was leaving, I had drains that were attached to me. I was wrapped from my waist all the way up to right above my chest to my shoulders. I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't want him seeing that. So when he came back, I was in a better state of mind. So the surgeries I had after that were much smaller, less major. And it was easier for him to be around. He was there. He wanted to help. He wanted to sit with me. And I felt more comfortable with him being there for those than being there for the major ones.
Right. Yeah. And I think you were probably in a better mindset as well.
I was in a much better mindset.
So you survived. Yay. So you said there's a lot of transformations. I'm looking here. So what's the next one? So there's another shoe that drops and wow.
Yeah. So I was in my last surgery. This was last year, actually. I was in my last surgery in August, and I had been living with somebody. I was engaged to him, and I woke up from my last surgery to find out that he had committed suicide. That was a lot.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Thanks. That was there was a few weeks where I couldn't nonstop crying, trying to clean out things, saying, how do I do this? How do I live my life you're with somebody every day. You're with somebody all the time, and you do things together. And then all of a sudden it's ripped from you, and you don't know what the next step is. You can still do things, but you're so used to doing them with that person. walking around the house. It's like, I remember everything we did in this house, all the fun times, the dancing in the kitchen, the cooking together, the camping that all of those things that we did. And, it's not easy.
No, it's not. I had a few friends commit suicide during this pandemic, and it's not easy. And then one right before the pandemic, and it's not easy.
I'm sorry for that. It's hard.
Thanks.
It is.
Well, and it's not just me, and it's not just you. Suicide is running rampant during this pandemic.
It is.
I have conversations about suicide a lot, and it's one thing that I always do, especially my closest friends, is I would say, you're my friend. I go, hey, Sherry, how are you? And you say, I'm fine. I go, Sherry, how are you? Like, I want to give you that safe space because I want to know, because suicide has this, it's tarnished, you can't talk about it. When you can't talk about it, people commit suicide. And it needs to be normalized that you can have these open conversations about it.
Absolutely. One of the conversations I had with one of my clients, I run 4 doctor's offices for some of my clients, and there are some mental health professionals. And one of the things we were talking about during all this was, I said, you better be prepared, because as bad as COVID is, with all the physical pieces that it's taking away from people and the lives it's taken, the piece that's really going to have an impact at the end of this is the mental health piece. That's going to be it's already an issue, but it's going to be even bigger a problem after this shutdown and after COVID.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I see so many people. Now, I'm in Arizona, so with the masks, we haven't really been shut down that much. Now, where are you based out of?
I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, you're Connecticut. Okay. So across the border in Canada, I have friends in Canada, and they showed me a picture, and it just blew my freaking mind. It was of Niagara Falls, and it really messed up their brain, because they're looking at the beautiful Niagara Falls, and they look across to the U.S. side, and all they see are crowds of people, and they see hundreds, if not, thousands of people at Niagara Falls on the U.S. side. And then you can see the photograph, and you can see the Canadian side. There's maybe 12 people, 10 people.
Wow.
And it's devastated to them. I have friends in Canada that want to come visit, and they can't. They have
the
businesses.
Borders are still closed, right?
The borders are closed. They have businesses in the U.S., and they've not been able to visit their business for a year. Wow. They can't. Yeah. So, it's $1,800 to come from there to Arizona. And if they were to drive across the border to Detroit, it'd be like $170.
But could they even get through there with the borders being closed?
They can't. No, they can't.
Yeah.
No, they can't. And I have a friend that I met, and he was here in Arizona, and he snuck out of Canada. He snuck out. It was crazy. He had to take care of something, very personal nature. And he's like, I got to go. And now he's trying to figure out how to get back in.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. The devastation emotionally. I mean, I know what I felt, but what I was saying was, it's been proven, and I don't want to go this whole road, but just to say is that, it's been proven you don't have to wear a mask outside. It's okay to not wear a mask outside. And I walk outside and I see all these people wearing masks, and they're just terrified. I have a friend, voice actor, lives in California, and he just now has been out of the house. He was in the house for 390 days. He never left the house. He was terrified. And, the mental health is going to be really, really, it's going to go on for a long time.
It is.
For a long time. And I think that, the one thing that we can do, especially with people in other parts of the world that we know or other parts of the country, is to really check on them and to ask them, how are they doing? No, really, how are you doing?
Just
because I had some friends do that for me, and I was dying during this pandemic because I'm an extrovert, and extroverts were really suffering a lot. A lot. You introverts are having a great time. They're like,
we're like, all right, this is good. We got this.
This is great. For us extroverts, it was very, very difficult. And, so I just invite people to really double check on people and make sure they're they're doing okay.
It doesn't take a lot of time to make a call and ask somebody how they're doing.
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. No. So that's another shoe that's just,
wow. Yeah.
That's a hard one. That hits me in the gut. And so how did you overcome that?
I think...
Or should I say, how are you overcoming that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not over that yet. I made some changes in the house, so doesn't look the same. I had to go through his things. And it was actually this weekend I was cleaning out the house, and I came across a drawer I hadn't been in for a while, and I opened it up, and one of his sweatshirts was in there and some of his cologne. I took a break from that, but I'm still doing, like, going through it. It was really hard. I mean, it's still hard to imagine that he's not here, but it was very hard at first. And then I just said, you know what? I have to keep going. I have to keep going. I have a son. I have responsibilities. I have to take care of him, make sure he's okay. I have to take care of myself. I would allow myself to cry. I would just keep going. Then I would take breaks. I would go for walks. I have these great 3 little puppies who are wonderful for cuddling and support. So
absolutely.
That was absolutely helpful. But, I still have trigger moments. I'll hear a song, a movie will come on, something will happen, and I just start crying.
Wow.
So it's just, I don't think you ever really get over it. I think you learn how to handle it.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. So you talk about there's no rule book in life.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean that there's no book that tells us how to live life. There's no book that tells us how not to live life. We create our own rules. When you become a parent, there's nobody that says, here's a book, go raise your child. Just follow these steps.
There's a lot of books, but there's a lot of books, but
they don't,
yeah. There's a
not the book. I need an operational manual.
Yeah, I need an operational manual. That's what I need.
After the baby comes, it's like, wait, did I miss a chapter? Hold on.
Yeah.
What happens when you take them home?
Exactly.
So there's no book, and I feel like rules were made to be broken. There are rules there for a reason. And I feel like those are guidelines or things that people have learned along the way to say, hey, here's some guidelines. Here's some pointers. However, there's no reason to live by those guidelines. If the guidelines say, go work in a little office square and stay there for the rest of your life because that's where you're going to be safe. Are you going to sit there and be miserable? Or are you going to say, hey, what else is there out there that I can do? Are you going to be one of the people that follows the rules and doesn't live your life? Or you can be the one who follows the rules to an extent, but pushes the boundaries to see what else is out there. So I don't feel like there's a rule book for life.
Yeah, to actually live your life.
It is. Absolutely. A lot of people don't do that. They say, this is what I need. This is what I was told to do. You go to school, you go to college, you get a job, and whether you like it or not, you stay there. Well, are you happy? Have you done anything? Have you gone outside of your state?
Right.
So
a lot of people have the thought that they don't deserve to be happy, and that's a whole nother conversation. And you do,
absolutely.
And happiness is a great thing to have. Exactly. It doesn't. It's not created by anybody else but yourself, and you're the one that has to dig deep if you're not happy and figure out how to do the work on yourself to get to that point.
No, I don't think nobody should tell you how to live your life. You should tell you how to live your life.
I wholeheartedly agree. Now, of everything you've been through, how do you not give up? How have you not given up? What is it that drove you to not give up?
You know what? I had to learn to grow up at a young age. I started working when I was in 4th or 5th grade. That was my first job. And I learned to take care of myself. I learned to be independent. I had challenges thrown at me all the time. But I never let anything stop me. And I just learned over the years and learned as I was growing that I could either let things stop me and I could essentially fail and just be miserable. Or I could say, okay, this is something that life has thrown at me. What am I going to do with it? How am I going to handle it? And then eventually, what did I learn from it? So I either don't want to do it again or what can I take from it and go forward and use that as a life lesson to succeed? So everything that was thrown at me was like, all right, what am I going to do with this? Why is it and I would question, why is it being thrown at me? And how am I going to overcome this? Because I can't let anything stop me. I had that mentality and that drive in me. And even when I was homeless, I was like, I've got nothing to lose. I've got my son. I've got everything he's got a roof over his head. He's got his clothes. He's got things. I'm providing food for him. But, I've got nothing to lose. So let's go. Throw it at me, because I was not letting anything stop me.
Wow. You are a powerhouse, Sherry. Like, seriously, you are the epitome of transformation in your life.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. I loved being here. It's always great seeing you.
Absolutely
I love
amazing.
To you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. If you'd like to reach out to Sherry, you can reach her at sherrycapet.com. That's Sherry, SherryCapet.com. And if you do reach out to her, let her know that you heard about her here on Life Transformation Radio. And thank you for, along with my very special guest, Sherry Capet, to touch your heart, move your soul, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.